I wasn't like all up on the enclosure like, oh my gosh, she's, you know. I can just touch her all over and she just does not care because she is just well behaved, well socialized, and just a beauty to have, man. He's not fazed by me. Okay, whatever. All right, we're gonna let you do your thing. Listen, what's up, Goated family? Man, today we're back with another banger. We are going to be going over some cool techniques to socialize your green tree monitor, blue tree monitor, or monitors in general. I get this question a lot. I've been getting this question, honestly, since I've been posting on YouTube, but really over the last several weeks, I've been getting an influx from emails to DMs to comments on YouTube of people wanting to know how to, not even just your green tree monitor, how I socialized my avocado here behind me, my green tree monitor. And so I'm going to show you guys kind of what I do to socialize her and kind of talk about what we've done since day one that's helped me and her relationship kind of coincide and like mesh together to create this beautiful thing. So this is just going to be a straight raw video, and hopefully you guys enjoy and find this informative. So first thing is when I first got avocado, come out, girl, you want to come out? When I first got avocado, I was watching videos like look at her, she's so awesome. I was watching videos from, I was watching videos from Reptiliatus, tree monitor training, just constantly watching videos, you know, specific to the actual species, but I was also watching people like Nerd, who does a phenomenal job with just training monitors in general. Kevin McCurley, I swear, is like a monitor guru, just the Varan species. Like he just, I mean, if you've seen his videos, I mean, I've seen him take wild caught animals and just convert them. But I think one of the biggest things that I noticed in Kevin, and I don't know him from a can of paint, just from watching his videos, and I promise this is not me trying to glaze him up or anything like that, but just calling it for what I see from videos. And that is the fact that he loves his animals. He loves what he's doing, and it's not like he's trying to do it for clicks and video, you know, clicks and he's not trying to do it for, you know, content or whatever. It's more so he loves his animals and he's trying to share what he's doing through video. And as you know, we live in a day and age where you know, video is the best way to get information. Social media and platforms like YouTube are the best way to get information out, you know, as quick as possible. And so I think he's doing a great job, as well as tree monitor training. He does a great job, as well as you know, Dion with Reptiliatus. He does an amazing job too. But I say all that to say, I watched a lot of their videos, and it kind of prepped me for when I got avocado here day one. And one of the things day one is like, let the species kind of do its thing. I mean, it's kind of going through a treacherous period where it's possibly being thrown in a box and thrown into the dark, and then it's shipped onto a plane or onto a FedEx truck or onto somebody's vehicle. And it's like, imagine closing your eyes and being shaken around everywhere. People possibly are throwing the box around, throwing you around, you're smacking up against this, smacking up against that. You're in a dark space. It's probably, you know, warm, but not as warm. This heat pack is probably too warm sometimes, or whatever. And it's just a traumatic experience. And so we got to put that into our psyche whenever we're like getting a new animal. Like, think about how would this make me feel if I was shipped somewhere new, unbeknownst to me. Nobody asked me questions. I just got shipped off. Go, get. You're going to be with someone else. And so we got to think that once you get that through, once the animal gets to you, I know a lot of us like to make videos and everything, but unboxing, I usually like to take the animal out, inspect it, show you guys, because I mean, that's what this medium is, visual. Show you guys, and then from there, I shut the camera off, and I just want the animal to be left be, because those first few minutes, those first few days are critical. super critical because it can be a super positive experience where, you know, you have an animal that's just super socialized and is ready to go, or it can be super afraid of you, and those first few minutes can be detrimental and set you behind a lot. But to say that though, it's not the end of the world. It just means that you're gonna have to work a lot harder to get that trust back from that animal. And so Avocado, when I first got her, she was super cool, and you can watch the video back. I posted the whole unboxing and everything. She was chill, but she was kind of like looking around. You know how monitors have those inquisitive eyeballs? You know, she was just like looking around, didn't really have a bunch of tongue flicks, if I can remember correctly. She was just more so curious of her environment, which rightfully so. I mean, anybody would. And so, and I don't know where she just went. But hopefully she didn't go behind me. We're gonna close that for right now. I literally had to stop this video and I had to play the video back to make sure she didn't get out. She's very quiet. But what was I saying? Oh, when I first got Avocado, she was like super inquisitive with her eyes and everything, but she wasn't really doing tongue flicks with her tongue and Jacobson's organ and all that stuff. And so I immediately read that and was like, okay, she's not really, you know, huffing and puffing. You know how monitors do, they blow themselves up to look bigger. She was doing that a little bit, if I can remember correctly, but it wasn't like a ready to bite me type of attitude. It was more so like, I'm nervous, don't hurt me, but I'm really curious about what's going on, but just give me a second. And so I gave her the chance she needed, and I, you know, showed her off to the camera, and from there I put her in the enclosure and left her alone. I left her alone. I know some people will say, you know, you should immediately start messing with your monitor, or you should leave him, you know, and some people say just leave him alone completely. I felt like I did enough looking over her, making sure she was healthy. I gave her some water, made sure she was hydrated before I put her in the enclosure. And me personally, once I saw her initial attitude, I left her alone. I like to gauge an animal's attitude and their comfortability towards the new environment by placing them in the enclosure and kind of getting away and kind of watching them in their enclosure from afar. And so if your animal immediately comes out, you know, within the next couple of hours and is kind of tongue flicking around the enclosure, to me that's positive signs. That's good signs. That means that your animal has a little bit of confidence to want to come out, and it, to me, it's like you're kind of advanced. You've pushed yourself forward a little bit in the socialization. Now, if you have an animal that when you put it in the enclosure, a few hours has gone by and it's probably still in that same spot, or you've noticed that it's hid itself away, that's when you're like, okay, we're gonna have some work on our hands. But it's okay, it's all good. Avocado was kind of in the balance of both. You know, I left her alone. I actually had her in a different room in the house, and she was super cool. I went over and I sat down on my computer. I was still in the room, and I think that's key to note. I was still in the room, but I was on my computer, away from her. Like, I wasn't looking at her, wasn't paying attention to her, and she could still hear me because I was talking on my computer and everything. She could still hear me and everything, but she couldn't, I wasn't like all up on the enclosure like, oh my gosh, she's, you know, I gave her space and I just left it at that. And so I had cameras in her enclosure, and so I would watch the enclosure, you know, watch her through the camera, which I advise, you know, if you can afford a camera, they're usually pretty cheap, slap it in the enclosure and just watch it. Just watch the whole thing from afar. Avocado was like in between both. She was hiding a little bit, but she was also out. And so what I did from there was, monitors love to eat, especially if you have a healthy monitor species. I used this tool to my advantage, and that was the tool of using food to attract her to me. Monitor species are opportunistic, and it's good to know what their diet is and all that stuff, and knowing green tree monitors and most other baby monitors, they love insects. They love moving objects. They love things that are moving in front of them and they can attack. It's kind of like a cat or a dog. You know, they're attracted to lasers and everything. Like, they just looking around like, oh, I need that, and it smells like food, so I'm going for it. And so with her, I let a few days go by before I fed her, and when it came time to feed her, I didn't just take the, you know, the calcium dusted, but I didn't just take the calcium dusted, gut loaded crickets and just dump them all in the enclosure and said, enjoy your meal. I took the time to use her hunger along with, you know, tactics with tongs and everything and my fingers, holding a cricket that's moving in my finger, and I allowed that to bait her in kind of like a fish. And so thankfully with her, she was confident enough to trace that cricket all the way to me, but at first she wasn't really coming all the way to me. Like if I got it like all the way right here to my hand, she would stop right there, and like the cricket would be right there and she would stop right here, and she's just like, I don't know if I trust that. Like it's crazy how smart they are. And so she would kind of back up and walk away. And so what I would do is I would go up to her again, trail her down again, wherever she stopped, I'd feed her right there. I'd feed it right there, and I would reward her for even coming that close to me. And so now once she's close to me, I feed her that object, she takes it. Sometimes she'd scurry off, or sometimes she would sit there and she would eat it. When she sat there and ate it, I would just do some little rubs under her chin to let her know like, hey, you're doing good, you're doing good. And so next time around, I would do this with about 5 crickets or so. Next time around, she'd get a little closer, feed her, neck rubs, whatever. I never went over top. I never went over top of the head. It's always underneath. Do it underneath so that they don't feel attacked like a bird's coming in to get them. They want to know underneath, be calm, be cool, collected. Thank you so much for coming near me, my green tree monitor, my monitor lizard. Thank you so much for allowing me to feed you, hand feed you, tongue feed you. I appreciate you. Here's a treat and here's a rub. Thank you. Just like a dog, like a cat, same process. So boom. After a while, you know, I would do that every so often. It's a lot of patience because monitors are going to move at their own pace. There's a lot of patience, and eventually I would get her over onto my hand. And so I would get her onto my hand, I'd feed her, she'd turn around, she'd jump back in the enclosure, and she'd eat in there where she was comfortable. Same process, when she jumped in my hand, went back, allowed her to go back, settle in. I'd go in there. I didn't rush any of this. I would slowly go in there, rub her chin, and let her know, thank you for coming out and hanging with me. From there, boom, she would come on my hand, she'd eat, she'd stay there. She'd eat the cricket in my hand. From there, I would do that. She would eat, she'd hop back in. Fast forward, she would hop onto my hand, she would eat there in my hand, and from there, I would move away from the enclosure completely so that now she's really out of her comfort zone. And as soon as I would start moving, she'd get stale. She'd stop eating, she'd get stale, and she'd just look like, where are you taking me? Like you know, whoa, you're doing too much, buddy. You're doing too much. But after she'd flare up a little bit, I'd stop moving and I would like elevate her a little bit to where she doesn't feel threatened anymore. Because now she's thinking like, whoa, this is out of my comfort zone. What are you doing? I'd allow her to think, let her go up high, and she eventually either start eating or she continued to stare at me. And then I would, if she continued to like not eat, I would take her back to her enclosure, just because, so it could reaffirm her to know like, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just kind of working with you to socialize you, get you used to your environment. And so I bring her back to her comfortable place, allow her to eat right there, and she would eat immediately. And so after doing these processes over and over and over again, eventually it got to the point where she was just so confident and wanting to come out, and like now it's to the point where like I open the, honestly before I even open the enclosure, when I get home, she is like so fired up and ready. Like she's hopping at the glass. I hate that she does that. She hops at the glass, knocks her head, and all this other stuff, and it's just like, please stop doing that. It drives me nuts. But kind of like this right here, like I go in and she's, well, not this aggressively, but I just go in and like, I'm gonna scoot this up so you guys can see a lot better. But let's turn that brightness down a little bit. Sorry for the, but I go in while she's eating, you know, she's doing her thing. And, you know, read your monitor. Don't, if they're, I kind of take it back, like, read your monitor. If they're completely eating, like, you know, kind of leave them alone, I'll say that. But, like, for instance, like, once they get done eating, you know, you can rub them a little bit. And as you can see right here, this is a sign of, like,
she's not mad because she's just doing tongue flicks, but she's definitely a little, you know, skeptical about what's going on. And look at that head. That head is saying a lot. It's telling you a lot, man. Like, these things are so smart. Like, watch her head movement, bro. Like, and these tongue flicks just mean a lot, you know. And I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but, you know, just take every moment as a chance to move forward, you know, positively. And don't overdo it. It takes a lot of patience, and you're working on their time. And just always understand, like, if you feel like you're doing too much, back off for the day. Back off for a few hours. Allow them to reset. Allow them to go back into their thinking place, their comfortable place, and allow them to kind of reset and just take in everything that just happened. And then a few hours go by, you can go back to the enclosure. If they're sitting around like this, basking or something, you know, you can take the time to, you know, go back in and probably try some more things. But I always say, this is your investment. You have to take ownership of your investment. It's never really a dead cause. Like, I always like to think of, and I've given up animals before because, you know, I feel like they can have a better home somewhere. Come on out. Because I feel like they can have a better home somewhere, but don't give up an animal just because you're like, oh, I'm over it. Like, it's never gonna work. Until you look at yourself in the mirror and say, have I actually efforted all resources and ideas that I could to socialize this animal? You know, are you putting in countless hours and not just being in the enclosure with them? Are you sitting around the enclosure? Are you allowing them to hear you? Are you allowing them to smell you? Are you allowing them to just feel your vibrations when you walk in the room? Like, it sounds corny, but like, are you doing these things? Or have you just thrown it in a room, in your reptile room down in your basement, or in a reptile room somewhere upstairs, downstairs, away from where you just naturally are, and you just think, oh, I'm gonna come in and they're just gonna like me? Like, if that's the case, then you're not doing it right. Like, you have to be around, like, I'm very specific about where I put my reptiles. Like, my reptile room is my office. I work in here, I edit in here. And it's hot as heck. It's super hot. But it's worth it because my animals can hear me yelling when I'm on my games, and they can hear me yelling when I'm on a call, or like talking and laughing and being very rambunctious. They can hear all of that, so that whenever it comes time to go in there and play with them and yell, hey, no, like, she's just like, oh, it's this loudmouth again, you know. And so just put all that into consideration. Another cool thing to try, outside of just feeding and doing all that crazy shenanigans, is watering. Misting your enclosures without even bothering your animals goes a long way, because this allows them to get a feel for you, and they're like, oh, he's not coming in here to bother me, he's just coming in here to water. Like, I don't install all of those big, you know, misting systems, although I would love to. It's a little costly, but I love manually coming in here to mist, and she loves it as well. And usually with her, like, she'll want to hop out and come and smell the water and check the water out. Like, she never just wants to sit still. Like, now she's ready to come out and check this water. Like, she doesn't want to hop in my hand, but she'll hop on this right here. You gonna hop on? Such a clown. She's such a clown. Her personality is everything. And sometimes you're just lucky. Sometimes you just have a lucky animal, but I feel like it does. I'm like, yeah, she's socialized, but like, I take pride in keeping her socialized so that when she's bigger, we can keep the same personality. She's still a little hatchling per se. I mean, she's very small still. She's grown a little bit since I've gotten her, noticeably. Come on. But I'm like, she's still a little baby. She's still a little baby and has so much room to grow, and I want to keep that reputation between us high. So this is a babbling video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed even the slightest or got something out of it. And
yeah, man, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I'm going to give you guys a close-up of Avocado just doing her thing. She's such a beauty. Hello, and like I can just touch her all over and she just does not care because she is just well behaved, well socialized, and just a beauty to have, man. This girl is a beast. You're a beast. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? And ignore that big enclosure over there. I have a big project on the way. Video dropping next week, by the way. But yeah, I can do all this to her, and she doesn't even care. She doesn't even care. She's just like, what is going on? And that is how you want your monitor to be. All of your animals. They're very inquisitive, and they're very great climbers. Very good climbers. Oh, lastly, give your animals heat. Your animals will be ready and fired up, quite literally, if you give them heat and allow them to get warmed up before you start bothering them. I always say, like, a cold monitor's responses to you are false responses. And I say that in the sense of going in there to bother and doing all this to a cold monitor, it probably is not going to want to bite you because it's cold. It's like frozen. But I always say good socialization comes when they're warmed up and they're in their right thinking mind, their brains are working, and you can go in there and do all of this after they've been warmed up, because that shows to me their real personality. So keep them warm. Keep them warm. In the meantime, I'm trying to figure out if Avocado is actually a boy or a girl. It's really throwing me off here. I can't quite tell, but I still think she's a girl, but who knows? We'll see.
If you enjoy content like this, be sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, and consider giving this video a like. As always, God loves you, and so do I. Spread love, not hate.